talking about the PSFree exploit, we've had a new update from Chameleon, who has managed to chain the PSFree exploit with the existing PS4 kernel exploit, as well as, I believe, IdleSauce, or whoever it was that updated it for the PS5 as well. IdleSauce's host is the first one to implement it, I believe. So what this essentially is, if we kind of take a step back here, we've got a WebKit exploit and a kernel exploit. That's what creates our jailbreak for the PS4 and PS5. So the kernel exploit is actually what jailbreaks the console, but you can't access the kernel to do a kernel exploit without a userland or user mode exploit, which is the WebKit exploit. So that's why we call it an exploit chain, because we're essentially chaining two exploits together, first the WebKit exploit and then the kernel exploit. So what PSFree is that it's an updated WebKit exploit that is faster and more reliable than the previous WebKit exploits that we've been using up until now, and Chameleon's essentially swapped out the old WebKit exploit in the chain with PSFree. So now we're using the PSFree WebKit exploits chained with the existing kernel exploits to get a faster, more reliable jailbreak. And I believe in the IdleSauce host, it was updated for the PS5. I'm not 100% sure who did that, if it was IdleSauce or if there was anyone else involved there, but Chameleon did it for the PS4, and I believe the PS3 WebKit exploit was created by a user called ABC on Discord. So anyway, that's essentially where we are at the moment. So comparing this to the previous exploits, if we look at what the kind of difference is, how much better is this implementation? So if we run a timer with the old exploit, when we tried to run the jailbreak, now the previous WebKit exploit was pretty inconsistent. A lot of the time it would be quite fast, like it would, in this case, only takes 9 seconds until we get the insert USB message, which means it's done the WebKit exploit and it's moving on to the kernel exploit stage. So you can pause the timer at that point, and you can see we're at about 9 seconds in that case. However, other times that I've run it, it's taken much longer. In this case, it takes 35 seconds in order for it to just complete the WebKit exploit, the first stage of the exploit, to get to the USB message, which is a really long time. And another thing that can also happen is you get these not enough free system memory errors, which is when the WebKit exploit fails and crashes the browser, and you have to reload the page and try and run it again. And if it takes sometimes 20-30 seconds just for you to only get an out-of-memory error, and then you have to refresh and try again, and might take another 20 seconds to load the exploit, that can stack up over time and take quite a while to actually get the exploit loaded. So comparing that now to our new implementation with the PSFree WebKit exploit, it is much, much faster. It's consistently within about 5 seconds every single time that I try to load it. Now you can find it on the website kmeps4.site/900/PS3. This is just a test implementation of it right now, although I suspect it will probably be updated eventually once it's been fully tested, so that all of the normal hosts will use this exploit. So you won't have to do anything. You can just sit back, wait for the exploit host to be updated, and then you'll be able to enjoy a faster, more reliable exploit. Now, even when it crashes, it's still faster too, because when it actually crashed for me, it's only crashing within like 3 or 4 seconds of actually trying to load it, so you can just immediately refresh and jump back in and try and load it again much faster instead of waiting 20 or 30 seconds only for it to fail. So that is also a good thing. Now, on the PS5, the difference is not that noticeable. I mean, it is still better than the original WebKit exploit used in the PS5 jailbreak, but it's not as big of a difference as it is on the PS4. So if we look at the old version on the PS5, you can see that the kind of longest I could get it going was about 8 or 9 seconds here. I think 8 seconds roughly, or yeah, just about 8 seconds to get past the WebKit exploit part. Once it gets to triggering UAF, that means it's doing the kernel exploit at that point. So it's just the point up until triggering UAF, and it only takes about 8 seconds there to actually load that with the old exploit. But it does also have the problem sometimes where it gets stuck on, trying to load the WebKit exploits, where it takes about 20 plus seconds, and then it can give you the not enough free system memory error, and you have to reload the page and try again. So that can still happen on the PS5 as well, which makes it take longer. So with the updated version, with the PSFree exploit, you can see the difference here. Again, it's actually a little bit faster in my test than it was on the PS4, at least compared to Chameleon's host on the PS4. With IdleSauce's one on the PS5, it's usually within about 3 or 4 seconds, so just a tiny bit faster. but overall, more reliable as well. And again, it has the same benefit of when it's going to crash, it's only going to take 2 or 3 seconds for it to crash the browser, and you can just reload and try again instead of waiting 20 or 30 seconds. So there is definitely an improvement on the PS5 too. It's just not as big of a difference as it is on the PS4. And also, you're not running into as many, not enough free system memory errors because this WebKit exploit's a little bit more stable. It doesn't run into those errors as often as the previous WebKit exploits did. So that is pretty much it. That's the main difference so far that we've got with this new PSFree implementation. We just gotta wait for all of the exploit hosts to be fully updated to integrate this new WebKit exploit into their hosts so that you can all benefit from it. And of course, I'm sure Raspberry Pi hosts and ESP32S2 and S3 hosts will also be updated eventually. There'll be new binaries available that you can flash onto those and get it up and running on those devices too, where it can also do the auto USB injection, which will overall make the exploits much nicer to use. So yeah, now the PSFree exploit does have a few other benefits for future jailbreaks. If a new kernel exploit comes out for the PS4 in future, then it could be chained with this PSFree WebKit exploit because it works up to 9.60 before it was patched. So any new kernel exploits that come out up to 9.60 could be chained with this to get a higher jailbreak on a higher firmware. So that is another big benefit. It also benefits people on older firmwares with broken Blu-ray drives because it can be chained with the existing kernel exploits on older firmwares in order to be able to update a console that has a broken Blu-ray drive by running the jailbreak and using Lightning Mod's NoBD updater. So it does have a few other benefits there as well. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. And once again, I'll hopefully